Hello, 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 and thank you for coming to the channel. I appreciate you coming to the channel. You could be doing something else, but you are here. And today I'll be talking to you about the pros of living in the Dominican Republic. This is Dr. Azaba, and I've been living in the Dominican Republic for 13 years. And so today I'll be talking to you about the pros of living in the Dominican Republic. One thing that number one would be, as you probably already know, the climate. The climate is always about 70 to 80 degrees, even at night. Even at night, sometimes it gets down to 60 something, but it stays between 70 to 80 degrees. So it doesn't get too cold and it doesn't get, I have never seen it to get 100 degrees. So it doesn't get so hot either. Number two, medical costs are sky high. And I'm relating this video to the United States more so. Medical costs are sky high in the United States. I mean, there are people who it just could be one emergency away from being bankrupt. I think I read somewhere that medical costs were some of the top reasons of why people go bankrupt in the United States. Number three, many people just simply have on their bucket list to live in another country. This is a great option, getting out of your comfort zone. It may give you a more of appreciation of your mother country. I know there are places in the world that you can go to. For instance, I spent some time in Africa, and it took me to be in Africa to see how American I was. It had to be there. So number four. The Dominican Republic has experienced a significant amount of economic growth, and it makes it the largest economy in the Caribbean. And it always ranks, among the top 10 economies in Latin America. Of course, there's mining, agricultural, free trade zones, foreign investment, tourism. There's a lot of sectors that has a significant impact on the economic growth of the Dominican Republic. Even though there was the pandemic, the Dominican Republic still has kept chugging along. Everything has pretty much resumed to normal, even tourism, especially tourism. Number four, I believe, getting things repaired. A lot of people here still repair things. I was out of town, and the mechanic actually broke off the spark plug inside of the engine. So he took the whole head off of the motor, repaired it, and I was on the road that night. And he had to get the head shaved down to get it even and everything. So, and it wasn't that much. I think it was like $400. Now, if that would have been in the United States, it would have easily ran, who knows, $5,000, $2,000. It would have been expensive. Number six, nature. Nature. The Dominican Republic is best known for its aqua colored water or turquoise water. They have everything from tropical forests to mountains. They have even places where there's untouched nature. there's always some new area or sector that you can come across in the Dominican Republic. And I did 7 and 8 while talking about that. So, and 9, I'll get back to the beaches. Number 10, the low prices. Now, it depends on what you're buying. A lot of times when you're buying um, products that are imported in, sometimes those things can be higher. But in general, like in the grocery store or even when you buy food in the street or rent, getting things repaired as I just talked about, there's very low prices on a lot of things, and I'll get into the cost of living also. Number 11, I think, or number 10. I forgot where we're at. I'll just keep going. I won't go through the numbers, all right? When you come to the Dominican Republic, there's no visa required. Now, there is a visa. I think it's embedded into the price. It used to be a time when you used to pay extra when you got to the airport. It wasn't expensive. It's like $10. But now, and I could be wrong, I think they have infused that visa into a tourist visa. But you don't need a physical, you don't have to go do an application if you're an American and do a visa and an application and all these things. Now, I think Canada doesn't need it. I think the United Kingdom and a host of other, countries, European countries especially. So you can stay on what's called the tourist card for up to 30 days. After 30 days, I think after the first 30 days, it's like 2,000 pesos and it kind of goes up from there, but it isn't that much. A lot of people, you can extend your visa, um, but most people just pay a little more. Now there has been instances where people have been in the Dominican Republic for years and they have to pay a much, much, much higher amount. So you do have 30 days and you can extend it. Living in the Dominican Republic, you shouldn't be bored because there are a large amount of activities. Many of the people are very friendly. It's one of the best places you can do water activities and golf activities. The food, the coffee, the rum. They have the Dominican Republic is known for its high quality rum exports. It's a much of the rum has a natural process of distillation and aging. And the rum has a very, very unique flavor, and it is also inexpensive. The coffee, I didn't drink coffee before I came to the Dominican Republic, but they drink coffee so much here in the barber shops, in offices. So I love coffee now. And Dominican coffee has been ranked one of some of the world's best Dominican coffee, along with cigars, along with the rum again. There is a drink here called mamajuana. It doesn't have it has a very distinct um, taste to it. I really don't care for it all that much. But Dominicans claim that it has all these medical properties. But a lot of countries, do that. So they'll say, oh, it does this, it's for that, it's for this. I don't think I've ever seen any scientific evidence that it's true, though. Now, Dominican food is great. In my opinion, I don't like all the food, but been here long enough and tasted enough food to where the food is amazing to me. The Americans generally use more seasoning, I think. Many Americans don't have a problem with hot, like hot sauce or, you know, really, jalapenos, but a lot of Dominicans don't like hot herbs and spices. But there is some really good food here. Some people even claim that since they moved to the Dominican Republic, because life is a lot more slow, that there are a lot of health benefits to living in the Dominican Republic. Many people claim they eat fresher foods. You can see much more farming here than you see, for instance, in the United States. So my guess would be that the food is a lot fresher here, especially the fruits and vegetables. However, Dominicans don't eat a lot of green vegetables. When they do eat vegetables, many times it's not in a plate by itself. They'll mix rice with it or whatever. Now, one reason why a lot of African Americans are looking for a viable option outside of the United States is because of political and racial tension. And so that may be an option for people who want to live outside of the country. There are a diversity of experiences in the Dominican Republic. There's so many. You got big cities like Santo Domingo. You can go to the colonial zone. You can go to Boca Chica, which is a very low-lying beach. You can go to Punta Cana. You can go to the mountains. You can go to Jabaracoa, which is a lot of waterfalls there and golfing. You can go to La Romana, and there's a wonderful resorts out there. If you love the beach, there are, as I've said, there are beautiful, beautiful beaches. And, like I said, also with that average temperature, there are people who've never left the Dominican Republic. They've never used a heater. I don't think I've ever cut on the heater I have never cut the heater on in my car. So, as a matter of fact, there are some people here who don't know who have to really think, what is the word for a heater? Because they don't have heaters in the house either. There's no need for heaters here. Most people are very friendly. Most people in the Dominican Republic are very friendly. And if you're struggling to speak the language, many people are patient with you and will help you. If you break down on the side of the road, people will help you. People will stop and help you. If you fall, people will help you. So, in my opinion, most people by far are friendly. Most people are friendly. And another thing that people may want to come to the Dominican Republic is it's such close proximity to the United States is a variable that stands out. Plus, plane tickets are cheap when you compare them to other countries coming to the Dominican Republic. The proximity is huge because you can always go back. It's not like you're in China. You can come. If you wanted, if you missed home, you could come back for the weekend. You could go home for the weekend. If you do tickets tickets have gone up significantly more since the pandemic. However, they're still cheap enough for you to go back home when you need to. In my opinion, you'd be hard pressed to not be able to find a ticket a month out or 2 months out. That's, well, it depends on where you're living in the States. But I'm just say, for instance, going to Miami, for instance, or Fort Lauderdale. I've gotten on tickets for $100 before the pandemic just to go to Fort Lauderdale or Miami. Now that didn't include bags and baggage and suitcases, but that is a huge deal for people to be able to that proximity. Now the police in the Dominican Republic, in my opinion, is a lot much more politer than in the United States. Is politer a word? Than in the United States. I never heard of a policeman actually killing an expatriate. I don't think I've ever heard of that. When you're stopped as a foreigner, they're not like so anxious to hurt you, or that whole thing. One thing that may be a little bit controversial, and I'm speaking to the men right now, is there is no Me Too movement. Now, by far, many men in the United States believe that that's an issue. That's an issue. Many of the men that I talk to believe the women in the Dominican Republic are not only beautiful, they're not overweight, they're not angry, they're not mean, and they're not feminists. And they're not competing with men. Many men in the United States feel like the structure of how the United States is structured, the laws, and the culture of the United States has weaponized women against men. Now, many men feel this way, so I don't want to offend anyone, but many men feel like the Me Too movement has been abused by women. Sexual harassment has been used in any form when women get angry. Men in the United States are afraid to say hello or you look great today. Men have been accused of things 20, 30 years ago with no proof. That is very discouraging for men. In the Dominican Republic, that culture just simply doesn't exist. Many people feel the quality of life and the pace of life is much more relaxed here. Slowing down, in my opinion, has an instant positive impact on your spirit, your mind, your peace. Not being cold has an impact on your body and the muscles. It's a very relaxed lifestyle in the Dominican Republic. And I believe that when people move here, they generally do eat more healthful foods. Maybe it's the climate. Maybe it's an access to fruits and vegetables. I was sitting with a lady, just a neighbor, and we were just sitting around and the chickens are running around, and she just grabbed one of them, bam, just like that, and was like, here, take this home and cook it. So, that's how close you can be to, if you want to get a live goat, you can get a live goat. If you want to get a live cow, you can get a live cow and cut it up. They can cut it up for you. So you do have access to more fresh items. When you maybe if you do decide to come here, there's an opportunity to be more fit. Now, I'll say this. When I lived in Puerto Plata, I don't live in Puerto Plata anymore. I live in Santiago. But when I was in Puerto Plata, they have a riverfront there. And they have the little cones, not the cones, but the little supermarket parking lot bumper things, so people can't drive in there. And it's by the ocean, has a beautiful view, and it's safe. People are out there exercising in the evening. That's one of the best things I loved about Puerto Plata, and I miss about Puerto Plata. People who I've ran into women from the United States who've never really exercised in their lives, and they find themselves, joining classes and biking and snorkeling and scuba diving and paddleboarding or just walking on the beach. So there is opportunity for you to have a better quality of life if you take advantage of it. And that may be a reason why people may want to live in the Dominican Republic. Another reason is going back to the women. A lot of American men don't want to be married because of those divorce laws, because a family court is so unfair and biased towards men. Many men who have come to the Dominican Republic or gone to other countries go back and refuse to date American women. With the laws the way they are, they refuse to commit, let alone marry. There are a tremendous amount of men that are very discouraged with quote unquote masculine women in America. The child support system in the United States, many men feel that's used as a weapon to kids that, don't like them. And although the Dominican Republic child support system is here, it's not as costly and invasive. Now, coming to the Dominican Republic, it's very easy to get provisional residency. Once you get that, you qualify for tax breaks. Also, another reason is pension income is tax free in the Dominican Republic. You have a beautiful city down there in Santo Domingo, in the old parts. I think the capital was found in around 1500s. It carries a very wealthy history down there, and there's a lot of things that are very interesting down there. Another reason people may want to come to the Dominican Republic, there are many established expat communities as well as businesses. Many expats have set up businesses here. So it may be easier to make friends. It may be easier. I'll say this. People who decide to live in another country, how can I say this, are some of the most mature, most established, most don't have these huge criminal records, etc., etc. So some of the best people become expats, in my opinion. Some of the most mature people become expats. And when I'm talking about living, I'm not talking about people who go back and forth. I'm talking about people who actually said, you know what, I'm going to live in that country. Those are two different people, in my opinion. thousands of people come to the Dominican Republic every year to claim that title of expat. Now, some of the services and amenities that you're going to find in the Dominican Republic, you're unlikely to find elsewhere in the Caribbean. You can find a lot of familiar products in the international stores. There's a large amount of African and European influence because of the historical reverberations. Rent here is significantly less. It's possible to build your dream home for a fraction of the price. You can find beach villas sometimes around $200,000, $300,000. Utilities are low cost. There are areas where electricity is much more reliable than other areas, but it's always good if you're thinking about moving to come and rent. I don't care where you go. I think it might be a good idea to go and rent an Airbnb for 2 months or 3 months. I know that that's some people just say, no, I'm just, no, I say, take your time, think about things, listen to videos like this, and then make a move. You can go to places at night and see, if there's noise, just ride through, just different things like that. Dominican people, in my opinion, love to dance. They also love to teach anybody who's willing to learn. Back to those African and European elements, you got a mixture of that in the music and in the dance. Numerous schools exist for dancing. There are a lot of schools also for foreign children speaking English. So that's something to think about too. Carnival is one of the most colorful events in the Caribbean. It's held every February. There are so many costumes and street parades in different cities. Typical music is bachata and merengue. It's a very cheerful atmosphere. And if you haven't gone to Carnival, that's one thing you have to do. In most towns, it's held throughout the island. Different cities have different carnivals. And I do believe, going back to making friends, I have heard of people who don't have Dominican friends, which I think is an error. There are good people in the Dominican Republic. Very good people. Many good people. I think that it minimizes your experience when you don't integrate. You have to, in my opinion, to really live a good life here, you have to infuse yourself. You have to amalgamate into this society. Because having a full life and feeling like you are at home or trying to make this place your home, it's inextricably linked to having good relationships with other people. It's very easy to make friends. And like I said, most of the people who are traveling, are responsible people. When I say traveling, most of the expats that live in the Dominican Republic are responsible. Most of the foreigners that live here aren't troublemakers, in my opinion, that live here. Now, many Dominicans, they live slower than we do. Life is slower. You go to their house, they want to talk to you for hours. You go to their house and you don't eat, it's kind of offensive. You go to their house, coffee is going to be served. And that happens a lot. That happens a lot. Families love to get together. Families love to get together. I'll tell you something I saw that I thought was so cool. There were a bunch of students. I see the students all the time, and the students in the States, and a bus passes by, or you see the kids on a corner and they're just going crazy, kids. The kids, in my opinion, here, or the children here, or the teenagers here, are much more tranquil when you see them. They're just not jumping around and everything. So that's kind of cool. I thought that was kind of cool. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the food here. Um, they do a lot of rice. I always make a joke. I always say, man, Dominicans eat more rice than Chinese folks. They like them right. They like a lot of rice. They put beans in it, different meats. They eat plants, plantains. They got different types of fruit here too. Um, there's a there's a thing here called Johnny Cakes, or kipes, which comes from the Middle East. They got food similar from West Africa called fufu. They got a traditional food here, paella. It's a Spanish food. Now, they have a national dish here, which is called sancocho. Now, you can make sancocho with all kind of different items, but it's just basically a traditional soup made up of different types of meat with rice, sometimes red beans. Different people make sancocho differently. Another thing about being here that's cool, and this is going to sound hard for people to believe. I don't think I've ever been in a home that was made of sheetrock. Either it's wood or concrete. If you get a chance to come to the Dominican Republic, look at the structure of a lot of the houses. Man, they can build houses on a 45-degree angle on the side of a mountain, and it is of high quality and finishings. A lot of skilled contractors are here. And some of those prices are very low. Sometimes you can find building a concrete house as low as $200 to $300 a square foot. Look at some of the houses and you'll understand. I mean, go in almost every neighborhood and any neighborhood, and you will see some of the well-built houses. It's like, wow. Another thing is, interest rates here are pretty high, so you can fly over the country and you can see a lot of houses aren't built fully, or buildings aren't built fully, because they kind of build as they get the money. You can buy land here. You can start businesses here. Medical care is affordable. The country is politically stable, and foreigners are welcome. I think by the end of 2021, the GDP in the Dominican Republic was an estimated almost $200 billion. And it is one of the top 10 highest, largest economies in the Americas. Now, if you are planning on moving to the Dominican Republic, the book that I'm coming out with is a great start. The book is entitled What I Wish I Would Have Known Before Living in the Dominican Republic and Why I'm Leaving. Now, there's not anything terrible or why I'm leaving. The biggest thing is just to live somewhere else. But it would be a great start. I always find that a lot of expatriates who may have channels, who may have, um, YouTube, a lot of times they don't do a lot of research on, and I'm not knocking, just saying that my book was, I did a lot of research and a lot of data and looked at a lot of information before putting information out there. And if you're thinking about moving, again, talk to people. Tell people you're looking. People will find you. Take into account, access to electricity, water. Sometimes it's not automatic. Make sure they have if you do rent a place, make sure you consistently have water. Or if you're renting a house, that it has a cisterna, which is basically a hole in like a pool, and they put water in there as a reserve, or something that sits on the top of the house, a Tanaka. They have that. Make sure that you ask these questions about water and how often does the electricity go out. You also want to be in places where there's not a lot of noise pollution. You want to be somewhere. That's why I was saying earlier. You want to look at places at night, and you want to make sure it's have a lot of noise going there. You don't want to move next door to a chicken coop, and every morning the chickens are. There is no perfect place to live. All corners of the earth have their pros and cons. No country is perfect. However, the most important thing I would do as a newcomer to the Dominican Republic, I would talk to at least 5 Americans. 5. And you make sure they have lived in the Dominican Republic for at least 10 years. Not 9, not 7, 10 years. Because I say this is because it's easy for a person who have lived in a country or keep visiting a country for a short period of time to have rose-colored glasses. Those older expats, in terms of how many years they've been living in the Dominican Republic, and I would say 10, talk to 5 people. That is going to give you the most honest, most raw. And I think that's what people want. I think people want to know, how is their experiences. And people are going to vary. People are going to vary. But eventually it's going to come down to how you will see it. But somebody who's been living in country 3, 4, 6 years, I don't know if the rose-colored glasses are all the way off. But okay, thank you for listening. And keep a lookout on this channel for my book. It's going to be on Amazon. I'm going to probably do a voice through the book. And I may also, it's going to be in PDF, it's going to be in hardback. So please stay tuned and listen to other things that I'll be saying really soon. Thanks again for coming, because you could have been somewhere else.